You are watching the ShrimpBackPodcast. And today's topic is how we got our jobs and portfolios, part 2. I am one of your hosts, Sergio Vijay Sasa, also known as O Abnormal.
I am Sabrina Brady, also known as just Sabrina.
And I am the third host, Mao or Mao Draws. And that's how we can... Oh man, I messed it up. Sorry.
Oh no, leave it.
I'll leave it. And
I love it.
You can find us on our social medias as...
The internet. O Abnormal.
Sabrina Brady Art.
And Mao Draws.
It's awesome. It's the perfect intro.
Perfect. Best intro ever. Okay.
Logo starts.
He looks like a weed.
It's cute, okay? I like that it moves.
No, we call them dormilones.
Yeah.
I don't have them here, so this is exciting.
Do you have a name for it?
Shy Guy. Dan named it. Because
Okay.
it's technically a shy plant, is what they're called, I guess.
Like the Mario 2, Mario 2 thing? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
By the way, we're live.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Cheers. Cheers. Hello, everybody.
Cheers. I have my weird...
Oh, yes. Okay, let's see what you got there.
Coffee mugs, come on. No, I'm just kidding.
No, see, this one is great because it is awesome in its simplicity. See,
Mm-hmm.
and it keeps things cold. I know that it's supposed to keep things hot.
Oh.
I don't drink hot things, so when you put something cold, it also keeps it cold, and that's why I love it. I call it the sippy cup.
Nice. Does it
I'm
taste like
rocking-
aluminum?
A octopus mug today.
I have an octopus. Well, I have a Cthulhu shirt. See,
Except it
Ooh.
got chipped right there, so there's a little hole, but you can't
that's
tell really
garbage now.
because it's white, so who cares?
it's garbage now. Throw it away. By the way, that's not a mug, Mal. That's a
That's a water bottle.
that's
Yep.
a water bottle.
I
Like, that's-
kind of ran out of mugs. I'm sorry. I only have the Minions one and the Spider-Man one that I showed last.
That's odd because when we started talking about the idea of having mugs, you made it sound like you had a lot of mugs, and I'm thinking the only one of us that actually has a lot of mugs is Sabrina.
So
Yeah.
I've got like at least 12 I can rock.
Okay.
And
That's a
they're
lot.
all
What-
weird.
Okay,
Well, not weird. It's not like an
So,
octopus mug is weird. It's just that they all have something going on.
Would you say it? You consider it correct to say that you have a collection of mugs?
No.
How many mugs do you have to have for it to be a collection? Say you have
I
12.
feel like to collect something, you want to go out and get more of them, right? Like to collect more and add more to your collection. Mine is just life built them up. They've been gifts, they've been odd finds here and there, and I don't throw them away because I get attached. So they're literally mugs that I've had since moving out of my parents, I guess.
What do you collect?
Knickknacks.
Dead husbands.
Knickknacks. Like
What are
antique
knickknacks?
knickknack. 1 second.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you collect, Mal, while she's out?
I collect
This is
Spider-Man
happening.
things.
No, wait, she's back.
So, in here, I have stuff just throwing away. Old antique advertisements, a love letter from 1914 to someone named Mary. I've got bottles and a pipe. Like, it
Oh,
just
wow.
goes
It's
and
like
goes. I could go for forever.
Is this like stuff you steal
Cheese.
or something?
Yeah.
Like where?
Pocket watch, some ink that has a cute little tassel on it. That's why I kept it.
But I'm
Bugs?
really kind of getting the vibe that you stole this stuff.
No, they're just life collections, cool crystals, just anything that would be a knick-knack. I collect knickknacks.
I mean,
This,
you really.
my dad
You said
gave me.
knickknack. You really meant it.
I mean knickknacks. My dad gave this to me
Ah.
for my birthday. It is an old tobacco tin, which I think is pretty cute.
What is in it?
Yeah.
Nothing. It's empty.
Does it
Doesn't even
smell?
smell like. No.
Oh.
No.
Like when you said you collected knickknacks, I didn't realize you literally meant just knickknacks.
Just knickknacks. Yep. Anything that strikes my fancy.
It has to be old.
Oh, it doesn't have to be old. I just have rocks and stuff in here. Seashells.
Rocks are pretty old.
I have. Wait. I can't.
Starts
grab
pulling out like used condoms and stuff.
it. Teeny
Yeah, like-
tiny.
Found this in an
glasses,
Oh, those are so awesome.
Right?
Oh,
There's
yeah.
For a cat.
Yeah, for a cat.
Probably. Anyway, I don't need to go through the whole thing. I just needed to prove to you when I
Yeah,
need
but-
knickknacks. I'm like, how do I describe this other than
No,
knickknacks,
that
right?
was yeah.
Yeah, it's super
You
fascinating.
were saying, Mo, that you collect Spider-Man stuff?
Yeah, I collect Spider-Man stuff, and I realized I said that, and I don't have anything by hand. Like I would. Let me get up. Be right back.
We can see your collection, though.
No, that's not a collection. That's just
That's a Okay, when does that become a collection then? You asked about the coffee mug thing.
I collect skulls. That's
Oh,
what
that's
I collect.
right,
I
yes.
collect. Okay, camera,
Here,
come down
camera.
here. Come on, camera.
Start
The
waving
camera.
your hands like this.
Okay.
Nope.
You just wanted to see me wave my hands.
Hello.
Let me go see what's going on with.
Okay.
Oh, messed his camera up.
Yeah. This is all part of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, better.
Oh yeah.
I
Or at
grabbed-
least Patreon. Hi,
Yeah.
Patreon, if we make one.
Oh.
I just grabbed the 3 Spider-Man-esque things that I have by hand.
Nice.
Spider-Maniest.
Yeah, because I have like an entire shelf that you cannot see. It's right behind me, and it's like I don't want to get everything, but if I get Spider-Man gifts, I will put it there. Pretty dusty.
No,
This
this is not a collection. These are just figures I have in my office, which I like.
Alright.
This actually I might even consider a collection because this is graphic design students seem to be very passionate about making stickers, so I collect stickers from my students. That's not even like a tenth of the stickers I have. But no, what I do collect is skulls.
Awesome.
Those are in the living room, and I'm not gonna.
Actual
Bring
human
you
being
skulls.
skulls.
Well, that's kind of illegal, but
Is it?
but no, yeah, it is.
I mean, you can own them if it's gifted to you. You can't sell them, at least in the United States. And you can't cross state lines with them. So if you somehow miraculously just were gifted a human skull, you could keep it legally. You just can't take it with you across borders. You could never move again in your life. Or you can't resell it.
Think about them. I mean, they are literally human remains.
Yeah, but I did see. I mean, it was a doctor, and it was on his office. So I don't.
Do you
No,
think
what's-
maybe the fact that he was a doctor had
Yeah, but
anything to
that's-
do with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't we talk about art? Like,
Yeah.
I suppose.
Oh, can you please give
I
us a
guess we
review?
could.
Or wait, like a short
Okay.
recap of what we
Yes.
Yeah. last
Yes.
episode today.
Last episode on the Shrimp Back Podcast, we spoke about how we got our jobs, and so we spoke about the education that we had gone through, about the first experiences we had in our quest to get work, and we spoke about how we got our first kind of piece of work. So today, we'll continue this topic, and we will just jump right into, although I think it's a little bit late to say jump right into because we already kind of like
Yeah.
just...
It's been like 10 minutes.
Today, we're going to get started with the job that we are currently in, how we got it. So,
Yep.
Sounds about
I
right.
suppose that like, Sabrina, Why don't you tell us, first of all, why don't you tell us what it is you do?
I am a 2D generalist for like the mobile game industry. Specifically, I work for a studio called Dillo Interactive. Dillo as in armadillo, not dildo. Everyone seems to think that's what I say at first. And I'm like, no.
Dildo Interactive.
Yes, it's Dillo
Yeah.
as an armadillo. Anyway.
I'm just kind of wishing you did work at Dildo
Yeah.
Interactive. It's just
Right.
Sounds awesome.
yeah. Yeah.
And I was, gosh, I'm really bad with timelines, so I think this was like 2018. I basically am still in the process. What?
Before times.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was applying to everything under the sun. I hadn't really ever stopped since graduation. It's just kind of the way it goes when you're freelancing, I think, is to apply for anything under the sun and hope something sticks.
Wait, let me stop you there for a second. When you say applying to everything under the sun,
Yes.
how are you applying?
If it was creative, I applied for it. So it was a lot of
what
back
I
and
mean
forth.
is how. How were you applying?
ArtStation, Indeed, all of the tiny little like work for indies sites, those kind of things, all over the place. It was
okay.
Anything and everywhere that I could find was posted. I would apply to it. That included directly from studios as well. So like if the studio, I just don't make fun of my hands.
I can't. It's the way I'm built.
If a studio posted on their website that they had openings, but not necessarily on, and I didn't see it on like Indeed or LinkedIn or those kind of places, I would apply through their websites. I have a whole bookmark list of studio after studio after studio that was just not even, it's not like a dream studio to work for, but I could work for them, just that kind of list. So I'm applying, and I still am working at my day job, making jerseys. And I'm trying to think, I think it was on Indeed that I applied to the Dillo Interactive one. At that time, he was called Dillo Games, and it was just 2 people. They were looking for an artist to work part-time. Not even full-time. It was just another freelance gig. It was contract-based. I was supposed to end in 6 months. It was just a 6-month contract, part-time. And I worked for them for that, making a, like, weed-themed game. So, like, marijuana.
Yeah.
And that can be kind of touchy for some people, I guess. I don't know why. But at the time, he asked me, like, just for your disclosure, we're making this kind of game. And I was like, you want to pay me? I'm fine with it. Like, I don't care. And it started to turn into, like, oh, make all of these girls really sexy. Like, we want to sell this kind of stuff. And I'm like, all right, I just had I'm being paid. I don't care. Let's go. And was making whatever he asked me to make. And that turned into just a relationship, obviously, with this guy. I won't say his name. You could find it out there. He's the owner of Dillo Interactive, so it's not hard to find. But my boss liked my stuff, and we kept in touch. And then he decided to renew a contract for a thing called the For Money Bears. Still part-time, and still a contract. So I wasn't like hired on as an employee. It was still freelance. And it was another 6-month thing for just the next game that he was making. After that 6-month contract, he finally agreed to put me on full-time. As an actual employee, not contract-based, I am hired now. And the studio has since then grown too. Like, we're more people than just the 2. It's not like, it's still, I would say, a startup studio because nothing has been really out there in terms of like, oh, you would recognize this studio. We made A, B, C, and D. But it's more of a studio environment than I was used to. And that was nice. So and I've been there since. That's been it. I've just been the artist. I'm still the artist. We don't have any other artists on the team. The studio has grown, but not an artist.
Okay.
Awesome.
That's how long would you say because you said that you were applying everywhere. That
Mhm.
process of starting to apply to when you got that job, how long would you say that was?
Uh, I mean, it was 3 years of building up portfolios and applying and doing odd jobs. Because I mean, I worked for, I think I said last time, the Mayo Clinic, but I also took on a thing for like product designs for actually, believe it or not, another marijuana themed company. They were making like the thing you like roll your joints on. It's like a little tray,
Well,
and that my
I
art
might
got
be
put on that.
mistaken here. Like, correct me if I'm wrong here.
Yeah,
Oh, wasn't this like around the time that marijuana was being legalized? So maybe like all this stuff was
in
in
places.
boom.
Yep, it was
Yeah.
starting to become more apparent. Yeah. Um, I worked again for the place that I interned at back in college, but I worked for them briefly for like 3 months doing some commercial work. I mean, it was really spotty, but what I was doing was building up my portfolio. That I thought I was doing was just taking on work that I could fill it out because the last year of college, I only worked on my senior film. So coming out of college, I had one piece of something to show that I actually was like kind of proud of. Everything else was over a year old at that point, and I didn't feel like represented my stuff. Granted, it was also schoolwork. So when I fresh graduated, I didn't feel like I had a portfolio to be applying to game students. I didn't have the portfolio to be like, hey, commission me for work. I just had one film. And so I mean, honestly, it was watching your Twitch streams and stuff when we had those Friday challenges. That
Yeah.
bulked out my portfolio a bit. You know, I got to use those kind of things to be more personal work.
Yeah.
And then when I applied to Dillo Interactive, he said in my interview that a fish game that I had concepted and draft was the thing that like
Remember that?
got his
I
attention.
remember that. Yeah.
And it's funny because that was something in my portfolio that I didn't even think was all that like relevant. It was just something I made on the side. It was tiny, and he said that was what got it, not all the other stuff in my portfolio that I thought would help. He was like, "No, that one's really cool." Like, I'm like, "Okay,
But wait,
great."
Sabrina, can you please explain to our listeners what the Friday art challenges were? Like in your words, because I want to kind of expand on that later.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you could talk about this
Oh, okay,
too,
yeah.
No, I like
You-
to say, I like to hear it from your point of view.
Yeah.
but every Friday, well, almost every Friday, we would, as a community, come together on O stream and all participate in a topic of art of some degree, whether that would be a technical challenge, a themed challenge, all of the above. If you could think of it, we probably did it in some shape or form as the topic of that Friday challenge. And then at the end of stream, O would show everybody's submissions. And it wasn't a competition, it wasn't anything, it was just meant to take you out of your comfort zone and work on something new that you might not necessarily have done on your own. Just to choose to do, right? So that was fun. I liked those times.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Why did you
Oh,
start
okay.
Friday challenges? I'm going to interrupt.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No. I'm very big on that. In terms of art, I'm what I like to consider. I mean, this is a term that I made up myself, right? This isn't something I read or anything, but I like to consider myself a technical artist. I know that technical artist is actually a thing in the
but
industry.
you mean like the
I'm a
craft itself, not
I'm
a job title.
a technical
artist.
focused
Yeah.
Yes.
artist in that one of the things that I like the most about art is the technical challenge. Like, okay, trying to get something hairy to actually look hairy, trying to figure out how color works, trying to, okay, how do you paint fire? How do you do, like, all these things? That's one of the things that I love the most about art. And I enjoy challenging myself that way, in the sense that I love making art. I enjoy that. Like if I'm not feeling like some part of the image that I'm working on is a challenge, I get bored. So I try to do those challenges for myself a lot. Like I try to make sure that I'm always trying out maybe something I haven't done before, or practicing these kind of things. And that honestly comes from teaching, right? Because I have to do that a lot with students. And so what would happen is that in my classes, I had this exercise that was a material rendering exercise. And they would do either spheres or cubes of different materials, right? Mm-hmm. And the challenge was, would have a list of materials, like rock, meat, like whatever. The student would have to choose.
Didn't we do that for one of the challenges, way back when? I was like, that sounds familiar. I'm pretty sure I drew that.
Yes, we did. So the challenge was, you would choose like 6 or 9. I don't remember the number. It would change from one semester to the other. Materials, and you would have to make spheres of that material. The idea of the exercise is that when you draw something, like, for example, you draw a wood, like a plank of wood. It has the shape of a plank of wood. So when you see it, the shape kind of gives it away. You're willing to forgive maybe mistakes in the rendering, because the shape makes you think it's a plank of wood. So you can just paint it whatever, and it's still going to feel like a plank of wood. But a sphere, exercise also gets done a lot with cubes.
Yeah.
A sphere, you're never going to go like, oh, a sphere must be this material. No. Mm-hmm. So if you manage to make a sphere feel like a certain material, then you know you rendered it right. And in the semester, that was like one of my favorite exercises that I would make my students do. I always had a lot of fun that exercise. So I wanted to continue that exercise, and sometimes even do it myself. And when I started doing those, people started liking them. So I started doing them again, and pretty soon Friday challenges became like a very fundamental part of my channel. Right now, as of this recording, we're not doing live streams. Sorry about the mic.
Okay.
Right now, at the moment of this recording, we're not doing live streams, but that's because right now I'm studying. So I kind of went on hiatus from streaming because I needed the extra time to study. As soon as that's over, I'll continue doing that, because I really, really like that. I really like the challenges. So it's a great way to kind of like bring people into it and kind of push artists out of their, I don't like using the term comfort zone a lot.
Yeah.
But kind of like make people explore a little bit and challenge themselves and all that kind of stuff. But also it's just a lot of fun for me.
Yeah.
Another aspect of the challenges that we would do a lot is the time. Our challenges are normally something 3 hours and stuff like that, and it was the idea, like, yes, let's learn to manage our time, and let's learn to do something within this amount of time. That's kind of where it comes from, really.
Yeah, and I do want to add a little to it, because that's one of the other things that made me, I don't know, like, it inspired me to get more of those. But it was when I was your student. I think you had, I'm trying to remember, a YouTube channel that you did art challenges with famous artists. I'm trying to remember if you, and that was, for me, I was like, oh wow, this looks so much fun, because it was like, was of course like really good at the time management, and he would get like a finished image in time. But those artists that I remember from that channel were not kind of ready for the challenge, so they would they couldn't finish in time, and they were like go ahead.
Because I know it sounds funny, but working and talking at the same time is something that a lot of people are not used to.
I'm terrible at it. God, in the workshop when we're all hanging out, everyone's just chatting, and I'm like, I'm working. I'm like dead silent. I'm sorry. I just don't talk.
No, but it's not for everybody. But
Yeah.
the idea of working and talking at the same time, that will just trip
Yeah.
a lot of artists. And not just that, like, for example, one thing I do with my students a lot, it's completely separate from that, is wrist exercises. I've shown these to both of you.
Mhm.
Like, there's different exercises you can do with your wrists, that they're coordination exercises, and they'll also help you kind of improve your wrist health in a preventive way. Not, and when it's coordination exercises, once you get it, another aspect you can increase to that challenge is to sing while you do it.
Oh no.
Sing or talk. I mean, talk.
Yeah.
But if you're alone, it's a lot easier to just sing.
Yeah.
And the other one, because when you do coordination exercises, like like the wrist exercise that I've shown, that like this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when you do this, you add talking to it.
For those who
Oh,
are
it
listening,
Yeah.
O is
Yeah.
alternating doing like a thumbs
Hand gesture,
middle
yeah.
symbol for hand
Yeah.
motion. I don't know what to call that.
Closed. One hand is closed fist, thumb out. The other
Yeah.
hand is open palm, thumb in. And you alternate those. But once you got it, then you do it without
Yep.
looking at
I
your
don't-
hands.
No, I can't.
Clearly, I'm not
Like,
doing it.
Then you do it without looking at your hands. And once you got
Yeah.
that, you do it while talking or singing. Once you got that, you do it while talking and walking. And I do this, but I don't do it in public. Once you got that, you do it and you dance.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I don't do that in public.
Yeah.
But anyway,
You'll
yeah,
do up
those.
to that point in public, though. You'll sing and walk and do your little hand gesture, but dancing crosses the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll dance in private.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, those kind of things, ideas that you increase your coordination and stuff like that. And so, yeah, making art and talking at the same time does
It's super
require a little
difficult.
bit of coordination that not everybody has.
Yeah. And that's the little story that I wanted to tell you guys now that we're speaking about this. I was in my bucket list. It was, I want to do one of those art challenges with O, because for me, I was like back then his student, and I was like, those are famous artists. I remember. Like, I don't remember their names, but for me, they were like professional and stuff. So one day, after like many, many years of trying, O actually invited me to one of those art challenges in his YouTube channel. I think the video must be somewhere over there, and I'm
I
super
wouldn't be
ashamed of
surprised.
it.
It should be
Yeah.
there.
But my mentality there, I actually practiced for it, and I was like, yeah, I'm ready. And it was like an awesome challenge. Like, it was Chrono Trigger, I remember. And
Oh.
I blew it. I was like, awful. That's the worst drawing I've ever done. And I was so nervous, and I was so young. But I still love the memory of just like being like, yes, I did it. And that's how those art challenges just kept coming. And like Sabrina was saying, it was actually helpful to have those in your portfolio, because those were images that were out of the comfort zone, and it would be like helpful to get jobs. I have some
Not
of
every
them.
single one of them was a winner. Like, not
yeah.
by any means. It was the select few that made it
Yeah.
into the portfolio.
Exactly.
But it was still useful. And it gave you a lot of confidence too. Like,
Yeah.
oh, now I know I can render A, B, C, and D better. Like, because I challenged
Yeah.
myself that day, I now can move forward with this, that I've practiced this
Yeah.
technique, for lack of a better word.
Later on, I'm gonna ask you guys about your portfolios, but
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get
Yeah.
but Mal, what about your current job? How do you get where you are?
Okay. So last time in the previous episode that you should watch if you haven't, I talked. Last week. I talked a little about the $20 week and how I after.
$20 month.
Month.
Oh yeah, month. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. After that, I just built my portfolio around more illustration works because I was just done with graphic design. So I started applying for video game companies, local video game companies. And I actually worked with a couple of video games companies from here. The first one was Mad Bricks, that's from Bogota, the capital city. And they were super nice, great projects. And I loved freelancing for them for a couple of months. That's when the pandemic hit. And it was kind of a weird space for everyone, but I remember just loving those times because it was like we were all starting to work from home and like the Zoom calls and whatever. That was fun. After that, I applied for another company, but that one's from here, the Medellin, the city where I live, and that's called Indie Level. Great company as well. I worked for them a couple of months, but then I noticed I don't really like working in video games. Because it's different. After having done a couple of commissions here and there, I noticed, and working with video game companies, that you have to learn a whole other set of skills that most people don't know if you start working in video games as an illustrator. There are some big companies that you just make the illustrations for, and that's okay. But with this smaller, like indie kind of companies, you have to learn like many other like ways to export.
You wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have to wear a lot of different hats. Just it gets too overwhelming, at least for me. I don't know if there might be some other artists that just love that, but it was getting a little too overwhelming for me, especially because they needed more 3D kind of pieces, and mixing my 2D art with the 3D kind of became it was a mess for me, at least. So here's the story that I wanted to tell today, and this one's not about a $20 month, it's about a $150 month.
Ooh, big bucks.
Yeah, this is like
moving
an
up
upgrade.
in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, so around the time I was kind of deciding if I wanted to keep going with video games or not, I saw doing commissionathlons. And commissionathlons are basically...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. In few words, it's death, despair. I hated it. Oh my God. Oh man, it was awful. But basically the idea is, and correct me if I say it wrong, but...
let's see how it goes.
Yeah. A commissionathlon is an event that invented, I think, right? That was your idea?
It's the mixture. Yes, I invented it. Basically, I started doing commissions because I made a living off of commissions from 2003 to 2018. So when I needed like that extra money boost with commissions, I came up with the idea: commission and marathon, missionathlon. The L, flawn. I don't really know why there was an L thrown in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you say decathlon, so
yeah.
it had more to do with marathon, which has no L, but it just... Anyway, commission-a-thon doesn't sound as cool.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, what it would be is I would set a price. The first one I did, let's say like $100 per character, and what I would do is about a couple of months earlier, start promoting it. I would do one commission a day for a month. The longest one I did, I would do this like once every couple of years.
Yeah.
I would do this like once every couple of years, and I think the longest one I ever did was 2 months.
Yeah.
And yes, it is death.
Yeah.
It is death. It is like producing one illustration, one commission a day.
Yeah.
How was yours?
Yeah, it's if you're not
I don't do
prepared
those anymore, by the way.
No, it's and also do not follow this advice. It's awful. Please artists, if you're listening, don't try it. It will hurt you in ways that you don't expect. Because
I mean, you can do it. You can do it for a week or something,
Yeah. but a
2
month,
months. Don't. Just
yeah, yeah. The thing is, made it seem so fun, and he was streaming the last one that I saw. So it was fun, like getting into chat every day and so seeing a new image, and he was really good at making them like interesting. And yeah, so I told him, I actually spoke with O, and I told you like, please give me some advice, please, how do I do this? And you were nice enough to teach me like, okay, you need to stay hydrated, you need to avoid like family gatherings, like other kind of responsibilities, let's say. And it was like great advice for it, but I didn't expect for like, it's so time consuming, because for a normal commission, just talking with the client, that one's like
Is a day. Yeah.
So trying to manage, I think I got like 10 commissions, and I was done. After that month, I was like, I couldn't, oh man, like I couldn't just sleep because I was too tired. It was like too much work, let's say. I was not prepared for a commissionathlon. But I did learn my lesson, and I was like, okay, now I know how to manage commissions. And here comes the fun part of the story. And it's that after I decided, okay, no more video games, but I do want to get more commissions, but not in that way that will kill me, basically. I was just trying to figure out how to get like those types of commissions that are fun and not graphic design work. So I found, like, I started posting on Reddit. I started posting on Newgrounds, if you can believe it. That website still exists. I don't know if...
oh, sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Okay, yeah, like Newgrounds, Funny Junk, like meme websites. I started posting on like 9gag. I think, yeah, like most of those meme websites, I would just post my art there and say like, hey, I am available for commissions, because I was just desperate to get into working with commissions. And another thing that I did was doing fan art of people that I admired. But that one was just to get my portfolio growing into stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that month, I think it was July of 2020. There was a YouTuber that I was watching at the time, and I still do. He's great. His channel is Totally Not Mark. He's an Irish YouTuber. He reviews anime. At the time, he was getting kind of famous with the Dragon Ball Z reviews. And I was like, okay, that he seems cool. I was watching his content. And then he posted about an art contest that he wanted to just have at the time. And I was like, okay, this is going to be fun. What he needed was, in the videos that he does, he makes himself look like a Dragon Ball Z character. So he was going to start a One Piece
like a
review series.
Yeah. Or like he dresses up. Okay. I'm like,
is this like a cosplay
no.
thing?
Yeah.
Like, no, a VTuber
Okay.
thing. Okay.
But it was before VTubers existed. So that was kind of weird for me, because he's like animated in the video, like not to the point like VTubers are right now. That's like super scary, but just he pops in, there's like different expressions, and I thought it was interesting. But what he was going to do for the One Piece review was that he needed an icon for his Twitter, like his social media, basically. And he said, if you draw me in the style of One Piece, you might win the contest. He had like the rules and whatever. And the prize was, I can't remember. I think it was something around $200, which for me at the time, it was like, oh, wow, this is money, because
it's like 10 months.
Yeah.
That's like 10 months for you.
Yeah. So I joined the contest. I did my best. I worked on it really, really like passionately, because I stayed like the entire weekend just working on it. I submitted my drawing. There were like a lot of submissions, really good ones. And I won second place. But here's the thing about that. When he publishes the winners and whatever, he contacts me privately, and he says, please do not tell this to anyone. Which is, I'm sorry, Mark.
Well?
I'm so sorry.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. Sorry, Mark. He says, I'm going to pay you a little bit more, and I'm paying all artists a little bit more. Please shush about this because I don't want it to get public. But I thought all your artworks were so good that they deserve a little more money. And I was like,
Oh, what
sure.
a nice guy.
Yeah, super
I
nice.
thought,
So
Are
now,
you gonna
this
say
was
no?
gonna be something
I know.
embarrassing, or
I know.
like this isn't. Oh man,
yeah, it's just
I'm
nice.
so disappointed, Mao. Like this.
It's not like that makes
Something.
him look bad. If anything, that
Yeah.
makes the guy
Like,
look even nicer.
I thought
Yeah,
he was
he's
gonna be
super
like, "Don't
nice.
tell anybody, but the first one sucked. I hated it."
No, it's just
You should have won, Mao. Don't
Yes,
tell
I don't-
anybody. I'm just gonna pay
Yes,
you
I
the reward
Yeah.
It
in
was
private.
bribed.
yeah,
Like it's the mafia. But no, it's
yeah.
just,
It was
he was
just
just
a
being
nice,
a nice dude.
yeah,
That's
super
just-
nice dude. So yeah, and after that, he also. I am going to try to show the image. The character that I designed for the One Piece, I don't know, lookalike of his version, had a pirate flag with a logo that I designed for the pirate character because I wanted it to be fun. It was just like a fun piece to draw. And the logo he liked so much that he said like, and I want to buy like the rights for the logo so I can print it on shirts and whatever if you're okay with it. And I was like, this is my month. I made my entire month with this. And he was super nice about it. I was like just surprised that can happen to artists. Because until so far it was like, oh man, it was such a roller coaster of just work. And after that, his fans were nice enough to want to commission me for like more of those One Piece style characters. They were like, hey, we saw you drew Mark like that. Now draw me, please. And I was like, sure, it costs this much. And they were like, sure. And there were some that paid like tips. I had never had tips. That happens. Yeah, I was like, wow. They were super nice, and then that kind of got me rolling into more commission work. And I kind of kept doing the same with like posting, art on websites or whatever, or contests. And the fans will be like, hey, are you available for commissions? And I was like, yeah. And that's how I have been building up my portfolio, and I get commissions like that. I also work with some other companies that, for example, there was another video game company that wanted characters for, I think it was the commission-a-thon that I did. And I have been working with those. And yeah, that's kind of how I have my actual job with it, which is just drawing characters or, illustrations as a commissioned artist. So that's the story.
That's nice.
Yeah. How about you, O? Tell us your current situation.
Well, I did commission work since 2003, and more or less it was my main activity until 2018, and we all kind of grow up with this mentality of like video games, like concept artists for video games. That's the ideal. So in 2018, I got that job. Now, that's not the job I currently have, so I'll just go very quickly over how I got that one. Basically, apply everywhere that I could, like Sabrina. Like, I had a portfolio, I would apply everywhere I could. Eventually, in 2018, I got work with an indie company. I worked with them for 2 years. And the experience was a roller coaster. It was a lot of good things, a lot of not so good things. But throughout those 2 years, I kind of got the idea of, like, everybody thinks they want to be a concept artist. But I think I don't. I think I don't want to be. And it was very, very difficult for me to accept that. Because it was it's the kind of thing that your entire life, like as soon as in my life I knew what a concept artist was, it was like, that's what I want to be.
Yeah. I think that's what
I mean,
everybody wants to be. I mean, if you're an illustrator in some shape or form, and you're not like a children's book illustrator, right?
Yeah.
You probably want to be a concept artist at some point in your upbringing of an artist.
Concept artist and concept art is kind of held like in this pedestal.
Yeah.
The art world.
Topic
like,
for a whole other podcast.
Like they're magical. Like concept artists are magical. They're the best artists and the fastest. And they work in the best things. And then there was also the idea like it's video games. I love video games. So it's like video games and concept artists. And it was this really, really difficult process of kind of coming to terms with the fact that I don't think I want to be a concept artist. I mean, I still like concept art and stuff like that, but there's a lot of the job that I just didn't like. I like we spoke before, I am an artist that I like to give 100% of myself in each image that I make. And I know that sounds very like oh yes, each one of my images is a masterpiece.
No, but there's a level of quality that your own self wants to put into an image, and in concept art, time doesn't let you. It does not
when
happen.
I make an image, I want to know that I did my best. That image. It's not always my best. Like the result is not always the best, but I don't like half-assing images. And I'm not saying that concept art is half-ass images. But in concept art, you don't
It's about getting the idea, not the technical skill. Yeah.
So in 2019, May 4th of 2019, one of my cats, my dearest cat, she died. And it was very, very sad. This was very, very, very traumatic for me. And was severely depressed for a few months. And I was not entirely happy in my job, which I lasted in for another year, by the way. So what happened was that I kind of I had been in this sort of depression for 3 months because of the death of my cat. And Pixie was her name. And I kind of thought what's going to get me out of this? I'm gonna do a course. I'm gonna study. So I looked. That's kind of where I discovered mentorships.
Yeah.
So I looked up a mentorship with Adam Duff. Hey, Adam.
Hi, Adam.
Yeah. Hey, Adam. So I looked up a mentorship with Adam Duff, and I'm like, okay, I found it. This is it. This is what's gonna get me out of this funk. So I contact Adam Duff, and he's like, awesome. Let's do this. A year and a half. Like, oh, okay. So yeah, pretty big waiting list. So I wait a year. And then the pandemic hits. And so the pandemic hits, and I'm not happy at my job. I'm just there trying to make up my mind about what I'm going to do with my life. Eventually, in June of 2020, I decide I'm quitting. I'm quitting, and I don't know. I'm just not happy. I'm quitting. The thing is, I quit in July of 2020, and immediately the next week, I get basically evicted. I get told hey, the apartment that I rented was need the apartment, and the pandemic and everything. Whoa, maybe that wasn't such a great idea. But, I'm there. I have some savings, and it's funny because it's the same thing that had happened 20 years before. The story I said last episode about the company that was a huge scam. When I left there, I was like, I want to go back to my passion, which is role-playing games. Here I was, 20 years later, having quit my job, being evicted from where I was living, in the middle of the pandemic, suddenly it hits me again. Like, role-playing games. What I've always liked. It's what I've always wanted. So later that year, I had to move everything, and I just decided I'm gonna work on my portfolio. I'm just gonna work on my portfolio, make a role-playing game portfolio, because that's something very important. Portfolios are not universal, right? You have a video game portfolio, well, have a role-playing game portfolio, they're not the same thing. And also, and we'll talk about this at another moment, you can't make a portfolio with the stuff you did working for that video game that hasn't been launched yet. So
Yeah,
I had like nothing. Like I
NDAs.
had worked for 2 years and I had nothing. So what happens is I eventually get into the mentorship. Like eventually the time comes to do the mentorship with Adam Duff. And that's where I kind of start build my portfolio. I start like I see a few techniques with him. I make an image that's good for my portfolio. I kind of get this sort of I sort of start kind of like going in a certain direction, and I get that portfolio rolling with the help of Adam. And then I just started sending my portfolio to role-playing game companies. And honestly, it was from that point, it was pretty simple, just, hey, here's my portfolio. Do you want to check it out? And I got positive response. My first client was Mongoose Publishing, which I still have as a client, with their game Traveler RPG. And ever since then, I've been working in role playing games and card games and stuff like that, and ever since then it's been flowing. It's been flowing,
You're
clients.
happy?
I am. I'm very, very happy. I love this work. I love working with role playing games. I love working with card games, and I more importantly, I feel like you can grow in this industry. So, I have my goals, I have my aspirations and all that kind of stuff, and the work I'm doing right now. And it is an industry where people appreciate it if you put all the energy you got into one image, which is exactly the way I like to work. But that's kind of how I got the job. I just built a portfolio, and I suppose we'll talk later on about the importance of a portfolio.
Yeah.
I just built a portfolio, and that's how I get my work. There is like a huge bug in my office that I have to get rid of, because if I don't,
Go ahead.
it's like right there. I have to get rid of. Is that a flying cockroach?
No.
Is it a
Anyway,
cockroach?
I'm gonna need a minute. I think it's a flying cockroach.
Oh no.
It's because I have my window open because it's so hot.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the light, the studio light.
You
Give me
can't
a
just
sec.
make peace, be friends.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. Did you get it?
Crash.
Oh. Wait.
For our listeners, always trying to catch the bug.
I don't think he's catching it. I think it's
killing
death
it.
for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're just staring at his empty chair, waiting on what happens. Oh, okay.
Oh,
That is a spray.
spray came out. This is an intense bug situation.
Yeah. I hope it's the bug that gets killed and not the other way around. Oh, are you okay?
Are you alive? Did the bug win?
I'm good. I'm good.
Awesome. I'm keeping this, by the way, in the whole edit. This is gold.
The longer the video, the better. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. I'm
Okay,
like, dead
just so
plant.
we're clear, it's not like I live in filth here and like cockroaches are all over the place. It's just that my window is open because it's a very hot evening. I have like the studio lights here and all that. So of course, cockroach flew into my office through the window and was on the wall.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna stamp it. Okay, first of all, I'm sorry if anybody's here. Like, you should have let the bug live. You know what? You let the bug live. I'm killing it. So
Yeah, you have to take care of your cats.
hang out in my. No, I mean the cats can hunt the cockroach if they want, but that's even worse because then I just find little pieces of cockroach all over the house.
And they play with it for like 10 minutes before actually killing it.
Yeah.
Bad way to go.
I'm not gonna just stay in my house if I know that there's a cockroach flying around, and I'm not gonna stamp it against the wall, with my shoe or anything. That's disgusting. So I have bug spray because gotta have bug spray.
Yeah.
So just do that, and the problem, sweep it up.
Yeah.
There you go. Problem solved. So yeah, I work with role playing games and card games, and I love it. I hate cockroaches. There you go.
Awesome. Yep.
So,
Okay.
with these, like, jobs we're doing now, what would you say, like, your portfolio consisted of that you think actually helped in that situation, right? Because there is the problem of applying to, say, a video game thing for most people out there who want to work for video games, and all they have in their portfolio are pretty girls, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the biggest problem, is just
Yeah.
pretty girls. No men, no other things, no creatures, no
Yeah.
props, no nothing, just pretty girls. And
Yeah.
they're like, I want to work in video games. So, in terms of where you guys are, what's your portfolio at the time that you got your job, right? Like, that's probably what people want. It's just like what you're at right now.
It's funny because, the other job that I currently hold is as a teacher, which is like my other passion. I love creating art and I love teaching art. If I have to choose, I go with creating, but my second passion is teaching. And so I get a lot of portfolios. Like, I have to look at a lot of portfolios because I get asked that a lot. And one of the things that I always say is essential to a portfolio is that you have to take the time and just, I don't know, the reality check to actually look at the industry that you want to be a part of and see what that industry needs. I'll give you an example. I'm not going to give any names here, but one time I had a student that I remember him very well because in class, he said that he wanted to work as a porn artist. And his classmates like laughed at him and everything. I was like, hey, that's a job.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to make more money than all of you, so don't laugh. Later on, I spoke to him and like, hey, so I take you seriously. And he was like, oh, okay, can we help me build my portfolio, stuff like that? What do I need to do? I don't want to study anatomy.
Okay.
Don't want to study anatomy, you say? No, I don't like that. Like, how about you want to draw porn? Like, yeah, I love porn, but I don't want to do any anatomy. To me, like think about it, like as ridiculous as that sounds, and you look at a lot of portfolios and you see that there's a lot of people that are not stopping to see what the industry they want to be a part of actually requires. And it's not that difficult. Like, you can look at whatever it is you want to do, you can look at what is done there and what they normally have and what they normally need. So you have to make sure that your portfolio has that. It sounds so obvious because it sounds like, duh. I mean, who needs to be told that? But you'd be surprised. And even like with us, like sometimes people just look at their portfolio when it doesn't have what the industry needs, right? Like what the industry that they want to be a part of is looking for.
You can be
A lot of people's
perfectly talented. You can have
oh yes,
amazing
absolutely.
works in your portfolio, but if they're not geared to what you're applying for, they're going to
Yeah.
look you right over.
The thing is, when we're speaking at a professional level, when we're speaking at so when we're talking about professional level, we're talking about, or at least I'm talking about, having art as a job.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, okay. So when we're talking about having art as a job, what a lot of aspiring artists do not understand is that it's not entirely about how well you can draw or paint. It's about if you can do what I need you to do.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like you can paint exceptionally well, but if you can't do what I need you to do, you're no good to me.
Say it a million times.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like congratulations on how well you paint.
Yeah.
Can't do what I need you to do. That's it.
Like
We're
the
done.
biggest one that I see out there of people who are like, oh, I want to get a job, I want to get a job. And then they say, but I don't paint backgrounds.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're
Good
not.
luck.
Anytime you have to say, I don't paint blank, you're
Yeah.
not going to get a job. Like,
Yeah.
you have to be at least willing to fake it till you make it and try and
That's
do what
the other
they're
thing.
asking
It's
you.
like you can. I mean, there's plenty of artists that don't do this or that, right? There's plenty
Yeah.
of artists that like
And the
don't do
higher you
backgrounds or
go,
don't do characters, but
you
that's
get more specialized for sure.
exactly like you're
Yeah.
specialized, and you
Mm.
don't start out specialized. You start out like just doing what needs to be done. You start to kind of land where you want to land. So first of all, I would say for a portfolio, it's about, okay, does your portfolio have the things that the industry that you want to be a part of needs you to have? You just got to be realistic about it. After that, your portfolio should be. It is not. It is kind of a demonstration of your skill, yes, but your client, when your client looks at your portfolio, your client should be able to see your work in their product.
Yeah.
So for example, a lot of times you'll get people that they wanna, like, they have a portfolio. Let's say it's like a anime manga portfolio, and it's like, you think I could illustrate for Dungeons and Dragons? No. Oh no, you can't. And it's not that you're not good.
No, you might be able to sit
Like-
down and paint something for Dungeons and Dragons, but they're
Yeah.
not going to know that when you apply.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if I have a product, I need to see what you do and be able to kind of envision how it would fit my
Mhm.
product. And something a lot of aspiring artists don't seem to understand is that, and I'm gonna say this really close to the mic, both because it's very important and also to bother Mal.
Oh, no.
The industry does not owe you work.
Yeah.
So it's not. And when I say the industry, I mean like the employer, the person reviewing your portfolio. It's not like they don't owe you work. It's not their job to give you a job.
Yeah.
It's up to you to help them envision their product with your art. And if your art does not fit into their product, that's it. And it doesn't mean you're not good. Doesn't mean you're not a good artist. It just means that's not what they're looking for. I know that's very cliche. Like, you get that answer, you're not what we're looking for. So, but it is true. So your portfolio has to have what the industry needs, has to help the client envision your art in their product, and finally, has to be what you want to do. Because again, I see so many portfolios with stuff that, and it seems so obvious, but so many artists that have in their portfolio stuff that is not what they want to do.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't really like drawing weapons and props, and you look at their portfolio and it's like filled with weapons and props, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, and I know that kind of, like, you might think that contradicts the first two. But if the industry, like No. You have to find that middle ground of what the industry needs, what the industry wants, what you do, and where do those two meet? Like where do what you do and what the industry needs, where do those two meet? And that's where you go.
Yeah.
So I think those are like some of the most fundamental things in a portfolio. And so when I made my portfolio for role-playing games, what I tried to do was, okay, let's get the variety that the industry needs. So, people, men, women, creatures, backgrounds, battle scenes, the kind of stuff that I saw was in the industry, kind of having like a nice variety of that.
I think what is I commend you for too, and a thing that we should point out is that you had all of this work experience up to this point, and you still said to yourself, I'm going to make work to apply to this area of place, right? Like, you buffed up your portfolio. You didn't just say, like, I'm going to be an RPG artist and apply with what I have. And you take that moment to actually gear yourself a little bit, right? Like,
well, thank you. But it's because a very common mistake is art is not universal, right? Like if you've been working for 10 years in video games, that doesn't mean you're great at making card game art. Like if you've been illustrating role-playing games for 20 years, that doesn't mean you're gonna make a good concept artist. These, like, yes, you got some fundamentals, like the very fundamentals of art. Yes, you probably paint and draw very well. But each kind of like little pocket of the industry has its own kind of like thing, and it's just not transferable, right? Like you can't just come out of video games and just jump into role-playing games and expect to, like, yeah, I got experience. No, you don't. You're not starting from zero, but you can't just transfer that experience that way.
And there's something that you can also
portfolios.
There's something that you can do about it, and it's like if you have like trouble getting like your portfolio together, you look for companies that kind of use your style or your skills. Because that was what I was doing with ArtStation. I would just look at companies that would do 2D, nothing 3D, because I already knew that I couldn't work with that. So I started applying with what I had to the companies that I knew that kind of had similar art styles or skills or those things. And we were kind of talking with this about this with Sabrina the other day, about how ridiculous those lists are that they ask you for, like, you need to learn how to animate in 2D, 3D. You need to learn typography, graphic design.
Klingon, I think is what that post said. Like, stupid things.
Yeah, super exaggerated things. But yeah, it's kind of like that you have to, okay, so I can do this, so I can apply it to this type of company. But of course, building your portfolio around it helps a lot.
Yeah, like you have to like do your homework. Look.
Don't just
at what
say, "Oh, good enough," and apply with what you have. Like, make work on the side, because a lot of the times you see people too. They're like, "Oh, I'm too tired to buff up my portfolio," and it's like, the thing, if you actually sit down and paint for a day, like, you can buff out your portfolio. Like, paint one illustration a day for a week, and you have an entirely new portfolio. You can do it.
Portfolio was an eternal work in progress. It's very, very common, and that's like a very common mistake that people make when they're making their portfolios, is that they check out portfolios of artists they admire. For example, that my students would do a lot at the university is that they would look at Loish portfolio, and I bring up Loish as an example because it was a very common one back then. And because, I mean, she's very known, and I mean, all love Loish.
Yeah,
even if you don't know her by name, you have seen her work.
Exactly. So it would show up like, oh, look at Loish's. I don't know if that's the the possessive pronoun of Loish.
Yeah, I mean, her
Loish's-
name is Lois.
Lois.
You cannot call her Lois.
Look at Loish's portfolio. And I'd be like, yes, it's very pretty, but you're forgetting one thing. Loish isn't looking for jobs. Loish
Yeah.
has work. She probably gets offered work all the time and
Just
gets
for
Yeah.
existing.
yeah, like she gets to pick. I mean, of course, she worked up to that point. You
Well,
know,
and
but admiration
Another thing
for-
that I do want to talk about in a future podcast episode is that Loish is a good example. She rose with Instagram. When Instagram
Yeah.
was new and upcoming artists on there, she rode with that popularity. So as Instagram grew, she grew. So trying to join into Instagram now and have the same success that Loish has is you can't do it. It doesn't exist. So that helped her out a lot. She was basically the original Instagram girl, right? Like in terms of who set the Instagram style of art.
But what I mean is like she at the point where she is, which I'm sure she worked very hard to get to. That portfolio that she has, beautiful as it is not something that she's like actively like sending to companies like, hey, I'm Loish, would you like to work with me? Like, no, that's not how she's doing, but it is what we're doing. Like, it is what you aspiring artists, it is what you're doing.
And she's also an exception. Like she did work, worked on Horizon, I think, briefly as a concept artist, but if she applied as a nobody to that game studio, she would not have gotten
it.
And
she only got it because of her presence.
It's like
she's an exception.
Great and she's very inspirational, but don't maybe look at her portfolio as the model to build your portfolio after, because it's not like she's not playing in the same league. So
and working the same.
So that I know it sounds very self-defeating, like oh, so I'm not playing in the same league as Bobby Chu. No, you're not. Like, I'm not saying that you might not be as good as Bobby Chu one day. Like, we should all aspire be as good as Bobby Chu is. But it's ridiculous to assume that we're playing in the same league or under the same rules.
You can. I think what you're trying to get at too is you can still get a job without being a Bobby Chu or a Loish or those kind of things. There are jobs that exist that do not require you to be at that pristine level.
But more importantly, it's like don't expect to do the same thing that they are doing
and have it work for you.
Because we are not at the same point of the career where they are at. So the way an artist like Bobby Chu or Loish or Dave Raposa or
Adam Duff
or those like the way that they get work is not the same way that we get work, or the same way a person that is just starting out from zero is gonna get work. This is like, there's different rules. Like I said, it's a different league. It's not like, oh, I will never be as good as... No, that's not what this is about. It's about understanding what point of your journey you are at. And like, okay, you're not going to do things their way. Maybe someday. Not yet. Right now, you play under different rules. And so right now, your portfolio has to be versatile, has to like follow all these guidelines and all these kind of things, and you're gonna have to send it to people and hope for the best and all that kind of stuff. That's like I mean, think about it. An artist like Greg Capullo, all he has to do. Well, okay, no, I don't want to say that. Okay, Mr. Capullo, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I'm not so presumptuous as to assume that I know how you work. As an example. If an artist like Greg Capullo just goes and says like, hey, I'm available to work. Who wants to work? Like, like immediately somebody's gonna show up. Like, awesome, let's do something, right? Like it's that's not the way it goes for us, right? Like we can't just go online and say like, I would just love it if somebody like wanted to work with me. Like, nah, it's not kind of how it works for us, and that's obviously not the way it's gonna work for somebody that's starting from zero. You gotta understand this. Like, you gotta understand that you're like it's. There are points of your journey, and you have to know where you're at.
Yeah.
Always aspire more, but understand that maybe some people, the people we admire them, use them as role models and all that kind of stuff, but don't expect to do things the same way they do them. As like I don't think The Rock has to go through a lot of trouble to get an acting gig.
Yeah.
I think he just tells whoever he works with, like, hey, I'd like to act this month, and they get him something, right?
Yeah.
Oh, an aspiring actor probably has to like go to auditions several times a day, years, until they finally get like a minor role and they start to build from there and all that. Same principle.
Yeah. And another thing that you can, if you don't believe us, because you should believe us, but if you don't, you can actually find the interviews where these people actually talk about how they got their jobs. For example, Gabriel Piccolo. I love this artist. I don't know if you know them. It's the Teen Titans, casual Teen Titans fan artists that became the new Teen Titans like artist for DC. He has a lot of interviews where he says how exactly he got his job. He said that it was when Instagram was starting out and he was posting every day and the algorithm was helping him, and he was doing like, he did do a lot of work because it was like this detailed
You had to
illustrations.
stay on top of it.
Yeah, exactly. And he says like, if you're starting now from that point of, I'm gonna do what Gabriel did or any other artist, it's different. It is different because it's you can't go back in time and do like, I'm gonna start when Instagram was starting out. It's just different. So there's those kind of interviews that you can actually listen to that, where they explain how they got it, and that's why we're kind of telling you our stories, how we are in our different kind of situations, even though all three of us kind of did the similar thing of working for video games or making this similar type of illustrations. It is still different for all three of us.
Well, yes, but I think the way the three of us got the work that we have is, I think it's like the basic way.
Yeah.
How people get work.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, hey, build a portfolio and start showing it around and applying for jobs is basic job advice. like job hunting 101. I think anybody can apply. And I think that, for example, you get like an artist like Joe Maureda or Trent Canuga, people that like, I started working in comics professionally at the age of 16 or 17.
Yeah.
I think Sabrina said it before, like, that's exceptional.
Yeah.
And that is like, hey, power to you. Like, Trent, I love you, man. Let's talk.
Well, and you have to be a religious applier too, like to jobs. You can't just apply to like one or two. Like, I did it. I applied. Let's see. Let's find out. It's like, no. When I was in my heyday of applying, I mean, I even applied to the one that your game studio one, because I remember you posting about it, and I was like, I applied to that one too. And this was actually before you had gotten it. And so I was like, well, good luck. And you're like, too. And like, just, you apply to everything, and you can't get disappointed when you don't hear. I mean, gosh, out of the ones that I heard back on, it was maybe 2%. On a whole of all of the applications I sent out. So it's not
that is a very easy common mistake when people are job hunting, and it's like, I made the mistake at the beginning, which was like, oh, there's an opening for Blizzard. This is back when, Blizzard was
Blizzard
the
was
thing we
cool.
all aspired
Yeah.
to. Yeah. So you're like, oh, okay, adjust my portfolio, all that kind of stuff, send it to Blizzard, and then you just like sit and wait. Like, of course, when you don't hear back from them, or when they answer back like, thanks, but no thanks, it's like it's a big deal. It's like, got rejected. Blizzard. Well, yeah, you and all the other, I don't know how many million artists were probably applying.
Yeah.
So I kind of learned that, like, you apply to a lot of stuff. Like, you apply to a lot of stuff. I mean, don't apply to garbage and don't apply to stuff you don't even want. Don't just send one application. Like apply. That way it becomes less of a big deal. It becomes more of a, like, hey, I sent a few job applications this week. Let's see what turns out. More than just, I sent one job application and, let's wait. Like, no, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Stuff like that. A lot of people ask me, like, but what happens if I get several of them? Okay, first of all, awesome.
Yeah.
First of all,
That has never happened to me.
Yeah.
I've never had competing job offers at one point in time.
But second, and more importantly, just because you got offered a job doesn't mean you have to take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that was a lot of the times it was saying no, because we are artists. We are more often than not underpaid. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. So when a job comes to you and they're like, oh, we'll give you, I can't even think off the top of my head, but basically like $100 a week. You're like, maybe not. Like, thanks, but no thanks, because those exist. Or, I mean, gosh, there's so many things too out there that are almost lying too in the job industry or the art industry. Yeah. Because I've applied to ones where they say, full-time hire, whatever, in the thing, get an interview, they like my stuff, we move on to a second interview before they actually tell me, oh, this was a voluntary position. It's not paid at all. We just want you to volunteer full-time. And I was like, oh my God, you wasted so much of my time. Yeah. And it just, those exist, and you have to not get your hopes up and...
Yeah. I have a story, but it goes with a confession. Getting rid of the concept art video game mentality is difficult. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like it's been hammered into our minds so hard that I still am like on the mailing list and stuff like that for video game jobs. I still get like
that magical one might appear. Oh, you never know.
Yeah. I know, and I still look at them and I'm so like, ooh, and no, I got work. Come on, focus. I applied to a video game job where I live, and it was like a startup, and it looked pretty cool. It was like, okay, we're gonna make like an MMO. We need like an art director. Like, hey, you know what? Why not? Maybe it's time. We've been here a while. Maybe I should be a director. It's time. I applied, and I got back. And so I go into the interview, and I go in with an interview mentality. Humble. Mm-hmm. Like, just, yes, I am here to serve. May I?
That sounds great. Thank you. Yeah.
And in the interview, it starts to become obvious to me that, okay, this is a company that is two people, basically two guys that got a wild hair up their ass and thought like, hey, what's making a lot of money these days? I don't know. Video games? Oh, great. Let's make a video game. That's it. Because, like, the guy tells me in the interview, like, okay, this company's me and my brother. We used to work selling nutritional supplements.
Yeah.
And
Not
now we're
related
making
to
video
game
games.
art at all. Game design, none of it. Yeah.
Like, and now we're making video games. Like, and what video games have you made? Like, no, this is our first.
An MMO
Okay.
to boot.
Yeah, no. And
Like,
so- and so
one
it's like-
of the most challenging
like,
Yeah.
and hard to produce video games.
and so he's like, yes, we're gonna make an online MMO. Oh, okay. Like, who's in your company? It's like, it's me and my brother. Like, we just started up. Oh, like, is your brother a programmer? No, we sell supplements. Okay. So anyway, interview's over. The guy, I can feel that it went well. Like, I can feel that I got the job. So I'm like, okay. Interview's done, and the typical thing at the end of the interview, like, have any questions?
All of them.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, I do. So I go, why is your first game an MMO? I wanted to know, like, okay,
Yeah.
why is the first game an MMO? And he's like, what do you mean? Well, MMO is like so big and complicated. Why would you choose an MMO for your first game? Big and complicated?
And oh no.
Yes, yes, they are an online MMO. They're like the most complicated video game you could possibly make. He's like, no, I mean, we just saw, like, that was like the most popular kind of video game, so we just thought that was the one we should make. I told him, like, you don't have any experience with MMOs or making MMOs or anything like that. No. Why is it is it very complicated? Is it very difficult? Yeah, they're like most complicated, the one that's going to require the most people, the one that's going to require the most work after post launch, and it's also going to take very, very long to make. He's like, well, yeah, I mean, but if it takes a year, it takes a year.
Man.
Oh,
A
no,
year.
no.
A year.
No.
So naive.
It's not gonna take a year, especially considering that it's just you and your brother. You have no experience, and you're just hiring the first artist for you. Like, no. So the interview took a turn right there, and
You schooling them.
for the
Yeah.
next hour,
Mhm.
I explained to the guy, like, what goes into making a video game, and like the complications of making an MMO. To his credit, the guy was like super open to listen to it all. He was like,
That's good.
"Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that." And so at the end of the meeting, he's like, "You know what? You've given me a lot to think about. I'm gonna meet with my brother. We're gonna discuss this, and we're gonna get back to you." And we'll see. About a week later, he contacts me, like, "Okay, met up with my brother. We spoke about everything you said. We're definitely going ahead with it. Do you want to come on board?" Oh, no, I don't. No, thank you. Thank you. I'm flattered, but no, I don't.
Yeah. No.
So that's something that like that whole story, that long-winded story is, yeah. Just because a job is being offered doesn't mean you have to take it. And
Yeah,
just because a job is being offered doesn't mean that it's good.
Mhm.
This is like I remember every now and then somebody will be like, "Oh, you're like that guy, like, is he good?" "Yeah, he wrote a book." Well, it's not like there's rules like like requirements.
Yeah.
Write a book. All you got to do is write it. I'm not saying it's
You can be a good
easy
writer.
to write a
Yeah.
like, and it's the same thing with like job offers and projects and video games and stuff like that. Like, anybody can just decide, "Hey, I'm gonna start a company." You just decide
Yeah.
to give your company a name. You put the job posting on ArtStation, and there you go.
Yeah, especially
You know?
if they offer, and artists, please be careful with this. If they offer you like, no, in 4 or 5 years when the game releases that we're just
Do
starting.
not work for RevShare.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't.
Don't. Please don't.
Don't
Please
fall
avoid
for
it.
it.
Yeah,
God.
that's the
I
worst.
think I think I would say this about RevShare, and it's do RevShare if it's like with your
it
friends,
works. With your-
like
Yeah.
like
Oh
if
yeah.
it's like
Friends
a
is
project where you like sit down with a friend and you're like, hey, let's do this, and
Yeah.
then, oh, okay, it's your idea and it's
Yeah.
your project and stuff like that, and you're like with your
Yeah.
team of
Yeah,
people and stuff like that,
But
and you
if
decide
there's
to
a-
start something.
If there's a company
RevShare.
out there, I say
Yeah.
loosely, saying they're RevShare and actually interviewing for positions like
Yeah.
they're a full-fledged studio, run
Yeah.
like the wind. Don't
Yeah.
do it.
Especially if it's like if it's a company that has employees that do get paid.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
offering to hire you, but they're not gonna pay you.
Yeah.
No. And also, very, very important. There's a difference between a company being non-profit and a company just not having money to pay you.
Mhm.
There's a big, big, big difference between a non-profit and I ain't got no money.
Yeah.
Because you'll see a lot of job offers of companies that are like, oh, we're a non-profit. And you go and you check it out. And it's like, no, you're not. You just don't have money.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very different. It's two very different things. And you see that a lot. Like, oh, this is for a non-profit. Going like, okay, I don't see...
Where are your sponsors? Who donates to you? Because a
Yeah.
nonprofit still makes
like-
money, but not in the way of sales.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, actually, take the time and look up what is it that makes a company nonprofit, and you'll see that it's not what most people think. It's not like we're broke and we don't have any money. No, that's not a nonprofit.
Yeah.
It's just no money.
Yeah.
Like I'm not mistaken. Is Blender a nonprofit? I think the
don't know.
Blender organization is actually a nonprofit. But I might be wrong. Oh man, I should have looked this up.
okay.
Yes, Blender Foundation is a non-profit.
Okay.
Blender
And
has
that's why they give it out for free.
yeah, but Blender is a huge thing. It has employees. There's people that work at
Mhm.
and they get
Yeah.
paid.
Yep.
They
They're
get
paid out of donation.
Blender
and
itself. Blender Foundation is non-profit. It has a very different meaning. Like
Yeah.
non-profit doesn't mean that nobody gets paid.
Yeah.
That's very important. So, okay. So our next topic on the agenda. We've spoken about portfolios. We've spoken about how we got the job that we are in. And it almost seems like we're gonna have to do a part 3.
Yeah.
But maybe we can discuss the little jobs and little things that we did or we still do on the way to getting our job or to supplement and stuff like that. Like what extra work, side things, that kind of stuff that might help either on the way building or that you might still do.
Yeah. See, all of my side jobs when I was working freelance had nothing to do with video games in the slightest. So I'm kind of at like that weird spot where I say like, "Oh, make your portfolio out for video games," but I didn't.
Yeah.
Because when I was working for Mayo, I was making infographics based on research publications. So they would send me data tables and the ugliest scientific things that you could possibly think of, and they're like, make it pretty. I'm like, oh, okay, when I have no idea what any of it means. It's talking about senescent cells and like different proteins, and I'm like, this is gibberish, and no one's there to help me. They just want it to. So I have to take this information and put it in a way that's basically like a child could look at it and understand what's going on. And how do you do that when you understand what's going on? So that was
Sprinkle
something.
your art magic.
Yes, sprinkle art magic. And you messed up your camera.
Yeah.
It didn't
Yeah,
like
I
the
did.
sprinkles. And then because I graduated with an animation degree, for a long time there, I thought I wanted to be an animator. So I was applying for animation jobs, and luckily now the job I'm currently in, I do get to animate again, but I wouldn't call myself an animator. Like, I wouldn't sit here. It's part of what I do, but it's not the entire thing I do. And so my portfolio, animation-wise, what's actually kind of funny is my boss didn't know that I could animate because he didn't look at that part of my portfolio when I applied. And it wasn't until like a year and a half in that he's like, oh, I need to hire an animator. Kind of stuff because we just hit that part in the production line that we just need an animator. And I was like, well, I could try it. And he's like, no, that's okay. I want you to stay on some illustration stuff. And I was like, well, I think I could do it. It wouldn't take me very long. Just give me like 2 hours and I can give that to you. And he was like, oh, okay. And I sent it to him. He's like, wow, this is really good. I didn't know you could animate. And I'm like, didn't know I could animate? It was on my board. I had a whole film on there. You didn't see that? And no, he didn't even look because, kind of like what we were talking about with portfolios earlier, they're there to look at what they want to look at. Yeah. And he saw animation as one of my little drop-down menu things and said, that's not what I'm hiring for, so he didn't look at it. And had no idea that I animated. So a lot of my previous stuff, animation-wise, I was working for, like, animating logos, which not even closely related to game design and illustration. I was taking other people's logos that I did not design, and I was animating them, letting them fly in and do crazy things to be the start of YouTube videos. So,
remember.
Yeah. I mean, for really weird companies too, like palette companies, and like not anything worth being like, look what I do for my job. No.
Yeah.
So the odd jobs for me were not fun. I did them because they paid, and that was it. That was it. The bottom line.
That's part of like being an artist like us. That it gets you your money and it gets you paid, and it's like we have to do those from time to time. Sometimes more than we'd like to work on, but it's part of it. We do kind of have to do that. And I did kind of have a similar, like the opposite of what you had, where my boss found out that I was a graphic designer and he wanted me to do all the graphic design.
You're like, no.
Yeah, I was like, no, only what you hired me for, what I applied for, illustration, no graphic design. And it was like, that also happens. But to talk a little about the small things that you also have to do. For example, in the line of work that I've been doing, I do have to keep my social media updated because most of my clients do kind of look at it. And I know this sounds weird from the guy that quit social media for 2 years, but it's because I was getting enough work so that I didn't have to update my social medias. But it is important that if you want to get like commissioned work as an artist, you have to show your latest work and of course the work that you would like to get more of. So that's kind of what O was saying a while back, that if you want to get commissions, but for example, you hate getting commissions, like those types of commissions that are like, draw my boyfriend and me with a heart, and you don't like that.
And her 5 cats.
Yeah. Those types of commissions, you get asked that a lot, especially like if you're drawing characters or whatever. But if you don't like that, stop putting them in your portfolio, because I have seen a lot of artists that are like, I'm tired of drawing like couples, and it's like, why do you keep posting them then? But it's like a cycle.
But it's also like, I think part of the freelance mentality when we're just starting out is I need all the work.
Yeah.
I need all the work. So whatever comes my way, I will do it. And I get that mentality at the beginning. Like I definitely took jobs at the beginning of my freelance career that I'm not ashamed of, but I wouldn't do them.
No.
Because I mean, even I know it doesn't sound like something I would do. But yeah, I got the "Can you draw my boyfriend in a ridiculous manner" commission, and I did. I did that. And I get it, like at the beginning. At the beginning when you're doing the hustle, you're getting anything you can get your hands off on. One thing I've learned having I've been teaching for 18 years, and that would be like my side gig, that we're talking about side jobs and stuff like that. My side gig is teaching.
Yeah.
And from teaching and seeing so many students, seeing like what my students do, one of the things I've learned is, yeah, some people actually like doing that. Draw me and my boyfriend with a heart behind. Yeah, there's people that enjoy that. Yeah. And hey, like, not to offend anybody, but for example, there's not only are there clients for everything, there's artists for everything. Yeah. So like for example, one thing that got very, very popular over the past few years is send me a photo of your pet. I'll draw your pet.
Yeah.
And it's not even like in a weird way. No, like I will just draw the photo as you sent it.
Yeah.
I've seen variations, like it'll be surrounded with flowers or stuff like that. Just many, many different ways of doing it. And they're like, there's clients for that. People love that. There's also artists that they love doing that.
Yeah.
I don't. Like, I don't enjoy that. I'm not gonna do that. But some artists really love doing that. And the thing is, you don't have to get every single job that exists. Like, it's like there's enough for everybody.
Yeah.
Let the people that like doing that do that.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult balance to find, but you're just starting out. Yes, be versatile, be flexible, try out different things, see what you like, all that. But you don't have to do everything.
Yeah.
I think a part of it that you're kind of missing a little bit, at least from my perspective on that, was that I didn't do it because I wanted to. It was that I needed to. Yeah. I needed the money.
Yeah.
And so
that's why I say, like, at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, at the beginning, when you're in the hustle, be versatile, adapt, try things. Yeah. And like, hey, the first time you get asked to do portrait of me and my boyfriend, or image of my dog, or infographic for the Mayo Clinic, or anything like that, take it, try it. Like, I mean, absolutely, try it. But
I actually very recently had to put the stop on family members and friends on Facebook doing the message of, hey, can you draw my dog? Can you draw my tattoo? Can you draw? And it's like, I don't take commissions anymore. That's all I just flat out said.
Yeah.
It's like, nope.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But that's what I mean. Like, take it, try it.
Yeah.
Once you've started to kind of find where you are, like find your thing, start letting go of the things that you don't do. Let other people do them.
Yeah.
Because you see so many artists that they with experience, with like good clients and stuff like that, they will still take anything that falls in their lap. Like, they will take anything they can get.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, come on. Like this job is not like a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week party. But I mean, come on, there has to be some fun to being an artist. Like, I mean, I don't always enjoy drawing wizards and dragons, but I get to draw wizards and dragons. It's just like, and hey, try to at least make it something you love doing, because, I mean, at the end of the day, it is a great privilege and a great, awesome thing to be able to make a living as an artist.
Yeah.
It's art. Why make art that makes you miserable? Especially when you know that there's somebody that's going to love doing that.
Yeah. And this is something that I heard from Eco Raptor, Arin Hanson. The best of advice I've seen with that topic. And it's, if you do what you love, or if you do what you hate, there's 4 options, 4 main options that you will get. If you do what you hate, first, you might do it like, yeah, I'll do it and I don't care, whatever, I'll just hate it and send it. And then the 2 options. Your client might also hate your work because it shows. If you do something without passion, without love, whatever, it shows. So the client might hate it, and you both were miserable. So it was like you were miserable, and the client is like, "Oh man, this image sucks," or whatever. Or the second, which is worse, you hated doing it, but your client loves it and recommends you to more people, and you get more and more and more of that type of work. So you're still miserable on that option. So if you do what you like and what you love, the other 2 points that help a lot is, if you do it and you love it and you enjoy it and it's like a great image that you make, and your client hates it, at least you enjoyed the process and it's something for your portfolio, and it's like, yeah, I had a great time, I got paid, whatever. I might not work with this client anymore, but it was fine. But then the best option is, if you do it and you love it and your client loves it, win-win. It's perfect. So that's like the advice I got from Ego Raptor. And it's like, yeah, that does make sense.
I'll admit I was more focused on counting that it was actually 4 options. And
Was
it is 4 options. It is awesome. 2 variants, 4 options. Yeah, it works. It works.
Yeah, great advice.
So, hey, the math adds up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. When it comes to side work, one of the things that worked out for me, and it was also advice I received. I was already doing it by the time I received it. Was you're starting out as an artist, making a living it's not gonna happen right away. When you're starting out, you're lucky if you're getting work that pays. Getting enough work and charging enough for it that you're gonna be able to make a living off of it and pay rent and buy food and feed your cats and stuff like that. That's probably not going to happen right away. So it's not a bad idea to get extra work or sometimes even a job that will still let you work on your art, and that you either won't have either won't have a problem letting go, or you can kind of make them sort of harmonize with each other. In my case, it was teaching. Like when I was starting out, I got the job as a teacher, and turns out I love teaching. It's a job that gave me time to continue working on my art, and still does. But there's so many different things you can do. But basically, like, you gotta find something that will allow you to survive, but to stay in the game, right? Like, not not a job where eventually art will become your hobby and just something you do when you have time, and then that turns into like, man, it's been 2 years since I've drawn and things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of like something that worked for me, teaching, and like the side gig that I still have.
Yeah.
But it was that when I got it at first, when I got offered, like, oh, I'll teach just a few hours a day, and the rest of the time I can be drawing. That kind of worked out for me back then.
Yeah, you still kind of want to like your side gig, or I called it my day job because it was working that during the day, and then at night I focused on making art still a part of my thing. But when I say like I worked for jerseys and put names and numbers on the back, I didn't dislike it. I actually still really like that job. It gave me like a focus and my boss at the time, he worked out of Texas. So he wasn't even on site. It was just me and one other worker. And we had to be self-sufficient. And so it was a good place to read my audiobooks because
Awesome.
there were no clients. I just had to, it was a manufacturing type job. I just sat there with my heat press and put the little graphics on and pressed the little heat press down and moved on to the next one. And it was just, I don't know, I didn't mind it. So you still want to be like happy with your side job.
Did you get any jerseys out of it?
No, I could print whatever I wanted. So I made just my name on the backs of stuff, or for a friend we put like Stitch from Lilo and Stitch on a hoodie, because we could print any image on the print. So it just so happened we were printing names and numbers, which is really and then it was a glorified iron-on, basically. And
I don't think I'm mature enough to handle that kind of power. The power of being able to print whatever I want on a shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I'm fit to handle that kind of power.
Yeah, my coworker made shirts for her whole family. Yeah, it was.
Oh no, not even that way. Not even that way. I mean, like in a worse way. Like I wouldn't make shirts for other people. I'd make shirts for myself, but I'd probably misuse that power very much. Just make the most horrible stuff. Like stuff that's like that's not in stores for a reason.
Oh, the things people would try to put on their actual jerseys was hilarious. We had a Hall of Fame list that we would write down anytime we got a crazy one. Like the amount of times people thought they were clever by putting porn 69 on the backs of their jerseys, and I'm like, we've gotten that a bazillion times. 69? Mm-hmm. Yep. Or we had Tiggle Bitties. I thought that was great.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's some good ones out there. Yeah. Hey, those brightened my day when most of Anderson 103. Like
Anderson 103?
Yeah, I'm just saying a general name with an actual.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, about it. It's just like what people think is clever is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. Porn 69.
But okay, I
I'm not gonna get over that.
I think
we can finish the episode here. We can wrap it up.
Okay.
Any final thoughts, conclusions?
No, we probably just end it with porn 69. Cut.
Yeah.
No.